That's fine.
Drugs were legal anyway up to about 100 years
Your
ago.
office police officer, I do solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will well and truly serve the Queen in office of Constable with fairness, integrity, diligence and impartiality, upholding fundamental human rights. Do you understand what fundamental human rights are? Right, that's in your oath. Fundamental human rights are the right to walk down the street without being hindered as long as no crime is being committed. So you're breaching your oath there. And according equal respect to all people, and that I will, to the best of my power, cause the peace to be kept. You've come over to harass people for no reason, so you're not to go to the peace to be kept. And to preserve and prevent all offences against people and property. Now, offences against people and property include a tyrannical government if the government are acting unlawfully by issuing illegal and unlawful guidelines or trying to enforce you to act on guidelines, acts and statutes that aren't law. You have no authority to enforce the law on people unless they're committing a crime. Right, so these government guidelines, wishes and advice are not law. Alright, this is the fact. And that while I continue to hold the said office, I will, to the best of my skill and knowledge, discharge all the duties thereof faithfully according to law. That's your office as a police officer. Upholding fundamental rights is the main part of your police oath. It's everyone's fundamental human right to walk down the street unhindered unless they're committing a crime. There's no crimes being committed. The ex-Chief Lord Justice in this country, Lord Jonathan Sumption, you may have heard of him, has openly come out in interviews, I've done press interviews, I've been in paper reports and everything, and he's openly said that the police are only enforced to allowed to enforce matters of crime. There's no crime being committed here, so you're harassing us illegally and lawfully and you're breaching your oath as a police officer. Nobody's doing anything wrong here, so we don't have to talk to you, so please can you leave us alone?
Go back to
you finished?
I'm finished, I've just told you.
Okay, so in regards to human rights, if you confirm to, they're all qualified human rights, aren't they?
Fundamental human rights, it's
everyone's human rights. Qualified rights, okay. So yes, you do have the freedom for...
Right, so you're illegally harassing us?
And this, no definition, will fit no definition of harassment.
You are harassing us because you're questioning us.
Listen, I'll let you speak from there.
Yeah, fine, but you're breaking the law.
Listen, I'll let you read your piece of paper out to me, so I'd appreciate you letting me speak now. Okay?
Yeah.
Human rights security are qualified. At this time, okay, there is no exceptions for gatherings or protests under this health protection regulations.
That's not the law.
Okay,
that's not the law.
Listen, I'm giving you your time, I'm now.
It's not the law, yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, so this kind of gathering will be tolerated to a certain extent. I will make it clear to you that you are under breach of the health protection regulations 2020, okay? And so,
we don't have to speak to you. So I've said my piece. I've said my piece to you. There's no laws being broken here. Nobody's committed a crime. And I'll just remind you, it actually says in the law as well that the Health Protection Act does not come under criminal law. As police officers, you are only allowed to act on criminal offences. Nobody's committing a criminal offence. As I've said to you, and I'll keep saying it to you because you don't seem to understand what I'm saying to you, by people walking down the street, minding their own business, free association, free assembly, which is our basic fundamental human rights, and that's it's enshrined in the European Court of Human Rights. All right. Now the fact of the matter is, you talk to a bit of a legal expert here, so I'm telling you now, as a police officer, you're breaking your oath as a police officer, harassing us for being in the street.
What expertise have you got there?
It doesn't. It's irrelevant.
I think this is very relevant.
Well, first of all, I studied law for many years, and second of all, none of us here. If you come up to talk to us, none of us here even have to speak to you. Because we're not crime, we can just turn our backs to you and you can't do anything because we're not breaking any laws. As I said to you before, it's clear, government advice, government guidelines, right, and government wishes are not law. They're not law. Nobody's committing a criminal offence here. And I also told you, it's enshrined in the constitutional rights of this country as well, right, that all acts and statutes require the consent of the people. We do not consent to this.
Okay.
We do not consent to you talking. You police us by our consent. You're harassing us in the street. I do not consent to you policing me now because I'm committing no crime and nobody else here is committing any crime.
Okay.
So kindly leave us alone.
All right, again, you said your piece, so I'll tell you, you are in breach of the Health Protection Regulations 2020.
It's not law.
Okay? And you have certain powers in regards to that.
It's not law.
They have powers of enforcement
and when people challenge these in court, they're winning in court.
Do you want to tell me your name?
No.
Just tell me what
organisation you're associated with. I wish to create no joinder or sign any contract with you today, so please leave me alone.
Okay, so I'll just say this and then we'll leave it at that for a bit, okay?
We can leave it at that. Unless you want to court.
You are in breach.
Unless you issue a court case against you personally as an individual.
Come on, I've listened to you.
Yeah.
You are in breach, okay? I'm telling you that you are in breach. I'm telling you that I have certain powers of enforcement and ultimately powers of arrest in regards to that breach.
Not when nobody's breaking the law, you haven't.
So, at the minute, no gatherings are allowed, right?
That's not law.
There is no exceptions for any gathering.
That's not law.
Okay, I'm telling you.
No, I'm telling you it's not the law.
I understand that we're going to disagree and we're going to disagree.
Well, I know the law, and clearly you don't. We're not breaking the law.
I would say I understand the law.
Right, as I said to you, I don't know.
Okay, so listen, we're going to leave
I
it
don't
at
wish to
that
enter into
for a
any
minute.
contracts
We are
or
gonna leave it
enter
at
any
that
joint
in a
with you.
minute.
Please leave me alone.
We'll
Because
leave
you're
it at
illegally
that.
harassing a person in the street,
Okay, this is not
breaching your oath as a police officer.
We'll leave it at that and we'll
So
come back.
please leave
we'll
me
come back
alone.
and speak to you in 10 minutes. Yeah?
I'll come
Okay.
back in 10 minutes. See you in 10 minutes.
I'm just going to change my camera. Obviously, they've said they were coming back. How long's it been now?
About 20 minutes. Said they'll come back in 10 minutes, didn't they?
Are you going to wait for them?
Well, there's no point because, well, I suppose so. I've waited long enough for them to come back, but they haven't come back because they haven't got any authority to enforce this. When I quoted the law to this, the police, as you heard. Same as last week, if you remember, they turned around and said last week they were going to come back, and they sat in the van watching us for an hour and a half and never came back then either. So these people, please, clearly don't understand, and they're clearly just not prepared to listen to people when you tell them that these government guidelines, acts, advice, and wishes aren't law. You know what I mean? And when you challenge them on it, they clearly don't know the law, especially these young police officers. As you saw, that lady was a quite young police officer, you know what I mean? So, I'm not being disrespectful or anything, but these new recruits, if they're going to recruit new people, they need to learn the law before they, give them the important role of a police officer, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable. As I said before, and I'll say again, government wishes, advice, and guidelines aren't law. They're not enforceable by anybody, right? And also, I've said before, and I'll say again, acts and statutes require the consent of the people. All right, and as I said to her, you heard me read her off out to her and tell her where she was breaching her oath as a police officer, and she didn't know what to answer because I told her I spelled it out in several different ways as well. So people need to be aware that instead of just running away like good little girls and boys when the police harass you, challenge them and question them. And do a bit of research, learn your basic rights, and they're not allowed to illegally remove you from walking down the street in a free country, minding your own business, not harming anybody.
That's fair enough. So while we've been talking now, we've been talking about 2 minutes, so that adds on to the 10 minutes at least. Yeah. So is there any point of hanging around now? Well,
there's no one in town centre, it's raining, it's miserable, it's cold. A lot of people are just staying at home out because of the weather, so I don't see the point of standing around in the middle of town centre because there's nobody here. All the shops are shut anyway. You see what town's usually like on a Saturday, when none of these illegal and lawful regulations are in, it's heaving. We've seen about 50 people, the whole time we've been here.
I noticed you were on a phone call when you'd finished with your interaction with the police officer.
Yeah.
Roughly then, what time was that, roughly?
And the phone call was let me see. The phone call was 17 minutes ago.
So 17 minutes?
Yeah.
Do you think they got stuck in traffic?
They also got stuck in traffic on a busy street where there's no cars, yeah? You know what I mean? So, they popped off for a cup of tea and decided how they're going to approach us, you know what I mean, if they decide to come back. But I don't think they'll be coming back because they've been quoted the law now, so hopefully, with a bit of sense, they'll realise that they've been challenged, they're in the wrong, and they'll leave us alone.
Well, I'll check up with you later if, make sure you're still available on the streets. And if you're not, and maybe put out another video.
Oh, just in case I get arrested, by the way, I've never had any suicidal thoughts, right, in case I disappear. I've never had any suicidal thoughts, and I've never had a cold or flu for about 15 years, unvaccinated, all right? So if I suddenly mysteriously disappear, you know why.